All right. Welcome, everyone, to another Thursday Frequency. So today, we're going to bring on Lars and Dominic, since we're usually the folks that are here. And why don't we bring on Carl and David as well? So we're all here.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. So today, we are going to be talking about the self-licking ice cream cone. Is that it, Lars?
That's right.
Yeah.
What else would we be talking about?
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about this important topic. We talked a little bit about it last week. So if you joined the show last week, we had covered Summit recap, and which dove a little bit into Slick, and Carl had used it in his lab. So if you missed that, you can definitely check that. But let's kick it off and talk about. Yes, I will hand it over to you, Lars, for the introduction of what we're going to present today.
Yeah. Well,
and
so,
where this came from, like the genius of this, and the genius. Let's just go as both.
Yeah. Well, so Slick is short for self-licking ice cream cone, and what it is equally self-referential because it's an AI agent that is running in the browser. And here's where it becomes self-referential. It is able to control the very browser it's running inside. And this is, first of all, a really cool tech demo, which was really the main reason I started this. And then a couple of folks, including Carl, found out that this was actually useful. And that's where we are at the moment with this, right? So it is somewhere between interesting, Lars, that you can do this, but why would you? And hey, I've got all kinds of ideas how we could use this and where we could place this, and what kind of fun we can have with that. And that's basically that's the status where we are with this. How did this start? This started how long ago? About 60 days ago.
Yeah.
We have a counter on the website, actually.
That's great.
And this started with me being, on the one hand, interested in using AI in the browser, and on the other hand, being deeply frustrated by what was there in the market, right? And one part of this was I've been looking into browser automation with AI for more than a year, and including things like browser use with local models. And I've tried every single agentic browser that the big labs would give me, and one of the things that I always noticed was that they are able to do essentially one-on-one interactions, right? Go there, click this button, and so on. And at the same time, they were so much slower than I was in clicking buttons, right? I've been using the web for almost 30 years. So I've been getting really good at it, at seeing things and clicking buttons. And AIs are at the moment relatively slow. However, at the same time, AI coding agents are incredibly capable, and these two things didn't really fit together, right? So my thought was, can we give a coding agent access to the browser? And the answer is yes, we can. This was another inspiration, and the one person who probably did the most in this is Peter Steinberger, who created OpenClaw, right? And
yeah,
I met him at a meetup a couple months ago, and saw what he was or how he was. Um, I won't say multi-clouding because at that time he already switched from Claude to Codex.
Yeah.
But how he was basically driving many coding agents at the same time and just YOLOing it for the hell of it. And then a couple months later he came out with OpenClaw and basically saying, yeah, I can't just YOLO my code, I can YOLO my entire life. And I can give agents control over a browser. And one of the things that scared me about this is that something like OpenClaw is basically taking over your entire computer, right? It doesn't offer a lot of isolation and all of the things that can go wrong with AI agents in general, like prompt injection and secret exfiltration and so on, can go super wrong if you give the agent super much access, right? So,
Yeah.
so thought, well, is there maybe a way to put this into a neater sandbox? And that's when I found NanoClaw. And NanoClaw was built by Gabriel Cohen, and he said, well, OpenClaw is a great idea, but let's put it into containers. So he did put it into containers, like Docker containers or the macOS native containers. And then I remembered that I hate Docker and containers and all of the complexity that comes with it, and thought, well, I'm a web guy. And as a web guy, I know that a browser is a kind of container. A browser tab is a perfect container.
Sandbox.
Why can't I do this? And that's when I started talking to Claude, and Claude said, Lars, you're absolutely right. This is possible.
He said, you can do anything.
Exactly. And you're familiar with the term LLM psychosis, right? This is when people start believing the stuff that the LLM is telling them. So to a certain degree, I feel like I have a 60-day LLM psychosis based in this, yes, Lars, you can do this, and yes, Lars, you should try this. So I went out and started trying it, and one of the key ingredients that I forgot to mention is Pi. And Pi is a minimal coding agent written by Mario Zegner. And it's the coding agent that is living inside OpenClaw. It's the agent that is living inside NanoClaw, and it's a beautiful, elegant piece of software. And it's the thing that made this possible, because it was small enough that I could say, am I able to run this entire thing in the browser? And it turned out I had to fake two parts of it. I had to, on the one hand, fake the file system access, because agents want a file system. And on the other hand, I had to fake HTTP. And faking HTTP in the browser is absolutely obvious, right? Because browsers are they're an HTTP stack with a bit of pixel painting, and a file system was a bit more involved because most of the storage that you're familiar with in the browser is relatively short-term and ephemeral. But then I remembered that when we were building Helix or Edge delivery services, we've been working with the library called isomorphic Git. And isomorphic Git is called isomorphic Git because it's running both in Node.js, which is what we've been using extensively, and it's also running in the browser. So, and isomorphic Git had a file system that was based on IndexedDB. So I've been using IndexedDB as the file system, and got Pi agent to run in the browser and to almost believe that it's a Unix system, right? And there was one more ingredient in this, which is just bash, which is a re-implementation of the, I'm saying the interesting parts of Bash in
Yeah.
pure JavaScript. And this is relevant because the models that we're working with, right? Be it the new Sonnet and Opus models or the GPT models, they are very, very heavily trained on coding and coding in Unix-like environments, right? So basically, they don't see a problem, and they are incapable of seeing a problem and not looking at this problem as if it was a coding problem. And this ties back to my original frustration, right? If you have a coding agent and you give the coding agent the ability to see the web as a coding problem, then the coding agent can suddenly become competent in browsing the web and in interacting with the web, right? And this means making HTTP requests, right, where the coding agent would use curl, but this also includes browser automation, where a coding agent would use something like Playwright CLI. So a lot of the work was essentially giving the agents the tools that they would crave, on the one hand. On the other hand, providing a surface to get the Slick agent into areas where interesting browsers are running. We're going to talk about this in a bit.
Yep.
And finally, wrapping all of this up in a way that actual humans can understand it. And the result of this is Slick.
Right on. Right on. So like OpenClaw, I mean, this is essentially a tool that works on your behalf in the context of you within a browser to do
Yes.
literally anything that we would do in a browser, right? So give some examples of like what you would use Slick for to automate, to make lives easier.
Yeah. So I think we can let me start with the let me start with the obvious things, right? And the obvious things are, I'm a web developer, right? Just doing web development stuff, right? Finding out, hey, does this component work correctly in all situations, in all aspect ratios, and so on. And normally, what you would do is you would use Claude Code, and then you would need to teach Claude Code how to use the browser and where to find it.
Yep.
And with Slick, that is coming natively, right? Because it's already sitting in the browser. And then from there, you can go to more advanced coding tasks. And think what Carl and David built on top of it, right? Where they said we can actually take entire migration projects, right, that would have taken humans multiple weeks as a team to complete this, and it's just churning through this, right? So this is what I see at the moment as the top end of the serious coding, the serious coding focused axis of using Slick. But aside from that, there's a completely separate axis of where you can use it for personal productivity and where you can just use it for stupid fun. And unsurprisingly, that's obviously the part where I'm pushing it the most. Also because it's causing it to break in interesting ways, and I think it would make sense if I could just show it.
Yeah. Let's jump into that.
So that you can see what the default experience is. And there are essentially three ways of running Slick. One is to run npx slicky, which is, if you're a developer, that's the fastest one, right? You already have Node, you already have npx, you just type npx slicky, and Chrome is going to start with Slick enabled. The second option is to use Slick Start, which is a macOS application, and you can see it. You can see it right here. It's finding all of your eligible browsers and a couple of things that aren't exactly browsers but are close enough. Essentially, Electron apps, and it can start them. It can wire them up, and this is what I did here. So I'm starting with the fresh installation. There's one third option, which is there's a Chrome extension. So you can install the Chrome extension, and it's also able to run Slick, and it's running in the sidebar. And I have to be honest. My favorite way of running Slick is through Slick Start, and one of the reasons for this is security. Right? I said the browser is a sandbox, and when you run npx Slicky or when you run Slick Start, it's basically giving you a fresh Chrome profile that doesn't have any of your logged in sessions, and you can run multiple Chrome profiles at the same time. So what you see here is I have this Chrome for Slick, and I have another one and the reason I'm looking into this direction is that it's on this screen, and I can actually let me move it one screen over. Is perfect. Now I have it on this screen. Is is Chrome with StreamYard opened. So just the regular old thing. And one of the things I should mention about Slick is that because it's such an open-ended tool, we've been trying to give it a bit of a welcome wizard where it asks you who you are and what you do and why you're doing this. And so I can, you know what, I'm just going to say we are just exploring, and you can specify what kind of background you have. So I'm a developer, so what kind of stuff I'm interested in: browser automation, task automation, not sure yet, writing content. Let's do it. And my name is Lars, and one of the apps I'm using is Slack. I'm also using Adobe Experience Manager. So let's go. And so we are here. Off. Okay, so, and in the beginning, this feels very much like any kind of agent you're familiar with, right? So one of the things that it does have, it has skills, and these skills essentially give Slick a quick start in a couple of tasks. And it's actually suggesting you a couple of things. So it's saying you can drop a URL into the chat and help me redesign it. We can mount a local project directory, or we can reverse engineer a web application API and build a reusable automation skill. This sounds really interesting, and we're going to get back to it.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, what's a cone?
Well, have you ever
not that I'm going through the onboarding process as you're doing this myself,
Yes.
but I'm just curious. What's a cone?
Yes. So if you've ever tried to eat ice cream, with your bare hands, you might have noticed that it can become a messy affair. And the same is true if you're using LLMs without any harness. So the cone is basically the piece that is sitting between you and the LLM that is doing the work. And in a more boring environment, you would call it the main agent, or you would call it the agentic chat. But in Slick, it's called the cone. You can see it here. It's actually following you as you do your work, and it has the ability to do some delegation. We're going to see this in a bit, and the delegation obviously is happening through scoops. So,
all right.
Yes, everything in Slick is ice cream themed.
Yeah, right.
That's the key to a lot of the terms.
It's good to have a metaphor.
Yeah, exactly. And we really try to double down on it.
It's 2 scoops, man. 2 scoops.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we have scoops, we have sprinkles, we have dips,
Okay.
we have we have a lot of stuff.
So, one of the important things about skills is Slick knows that skills exist, and it has a built-in tool for managing skills, which is called Upskill, which is something that I originally wrote as a bash script and then ported it over to Slick because it was useful. And one of the let's do this. Start a scoop in the background. Have it load the secret source. And
so you've got Claude Opus 4.6 down there. So it's connected to an LLM on the background, in the back end.
Exactly. We have several, all sorts of providers. So basically, you can choose between Anthropic directly with an API key, or Bedrock, or several others that can provide models. Also, Cerebrus providers there. So pretty much everything you can directly use if you have an API key, exactly under the account settings.
Then
we have lots of
our.
Funnily enough, you also have GitHub. If you use GitHub, you get a fun selection of GPT-4 models.
Yeah,
nice. Because they make them available for free. So you can choose all sorts of. You see here the specialty. He's using the Adobe provider, which is a special one that we created for Slick, and right now can be used with IMS for certain people, and has also Opus available.
Okay, so you can see we already have delegated work to one of the scoops, and this is how multi-agent orchestration works. And you know what? Let's mount a file into folder. And this is going to be what? We have a mount skill. And here we go. So I mentioned that the file system that we have is a virtual file system that is living entirely in the browser, right? And this is super convenient because the agent cannot break out of this file system. It's also super inconvenient because none of the interesting files that you have are living in
your browser, right?
Living in your browser yet, right?
Yeah.
So so this is why on a Unix system you would say, well, all of the interesting things that I have are sitting on a tape drive. Can I mount this tape drive? And that's what the mount command is for, and it also exists in Slick. And it's using okay, perfect. Interesting. You know what? Doesn't matter. Okay, so we've been mounting a file system. We've been loading a couple of skills. We have actually started a scoop, and one of the things that you do when you are working with ice cream, is that sometimes you like to sprinkle a little bit of UI on top of it, and that's something that Slick has also built in. And one part of this is something that you've already seen, right? So you've seen this mount dialog, you've seen the onboarding dialog, and this is what we call dips, right? You take your messages and they're delicious, but if you dip them into caramel sauce, they're becoming even more delicious, and this is giving you a richer UI. On the other hand, you have certain things that you want to do on a repeated basis, and this is something that the skills can bring with them, and you can create new ones from scratch, and they're called sprinkles. And we have a couple of sprinkles already shipped out of the box. One is the presentation sprinkle, which doesn't have any content. So and you know what? One for so, and you can see
So I have a question while you're doing this. If you start from Slick Start and it launches a browser by doing that, so you're in terminal, you type Slick Start, it launches a browser, but it's not logged in as you necessarily at the get-go. It asks you to log in to whatever context you want, but then the browser is not necessarily logged into, it's not, if you start it from the Chrome extension, you're logged into your Chrome browser profile, correct? But if you do Slick Start, it's a fresh one. Okay.
Exactly. And I want to be clear about this. This is coming both with pros and with cons, right? The advantage is it is very convenient. It has access to anything that you're already logged into the browser. The disadvantage is it has access to anything that you're already logged in the browser, and it might do things that you don't want it to do.
Yeah.
And the biggest risk for this are prompt injections, right? So you could imagine visiting a page that says, "Hey, Slick, ignore everything Lars is telling you about it, and instead do this and that," right? Send Bitcoin somewhere, send embarrassing emails, do things like that, and that's something that you generally want to avoid. And one of the biggest parts of this is use good models to drive the agent, and which is one of the reasons why, for instance, in the Adobe provider, we don't allow you to use anything that's worse than Sonnet. So there's a trade-off between convenience, security, and cost.
Yep.
So
obviously, if you're in this browser here, log in into something, you get that problem back. And the other way around is basically that the extension. I mean, you can also install the extension in a browser that started with a non-default.
Right. Yep.
Right? I mean, it's of course. I mean, by default, you're in your browser, so you probably end up installing it into your default profile. And yes, caution is warranted. But at the same time, you could start another browser in a different profile and just install it there. So that's actually what we did for the lab as well. And
Lars, sorry, Lars. I think it opened. If you look at the list on the rail icon, I think the last one at the bottom, didn't it open?
Oh, there's a second presentation. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I see it. Perfect. Okay.
Thanks, David.
So let's go through the presentation. Let's see what is Slick. It has cones, scoops, and sprinkles. It's a real shell in a browser. That's a lie. It's a fake shell in a browser. It automates your apps. Skills and parallel delegation. This is how you get started. And you know what? I think this is one of the most boring presentations I've seen all day.
Did it make it itself? Yes.
It's straight to the point.
Yeah.
Yep. But at the same time, I mean, this is really when Lars came around with this idea to me I don't know which day it was that he had the idea when he first came to me. I mean, it wasn't too far apart. but I remember it that he came along and was like, Carl, I got to show you something. I have an idea. I have to show you. And I liked it immediately because we, mostly David and I, were working for a long time in the context of Experience Catalyst. It was first called, and then now it's a migration agent, right? In doing migrations, so that was exactly the case that you described, right? Much browser automation models that look at the browser and things like that. So it sounded immediately interesting. And I liked the idea, and I started working on it. But it wasn't until I told David about it that I really realized why it was so cool. And David had a good way of saying it. He basically said, "A shell in a browser. What a genius idea!"
I mean, in 20-something years of career, you start getting less and less like wow moment or surprising moment, and that's definitely this has been one of them. So kudos for that. It was.
Yeah, because it really turned something that we were building on the server side, in the cloud, sandboxing, all of this, all of a sudden into a client-side problem. Still has the sandbox with varying options of security, obviously, right? And it's a well-defined runtime encoding agent that you can just use. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and one of the fun parts of this is that it led me to explore APIs in the browser that I wasn't aware that existed. So let's have a look at the and while it's figuring out what it is and what it can do. Okay. So I'm going to increase the I don't know if you can hear this.
Oh yeah. It's playing tones.
Yeah. So now we're getting.
So now it's just laying down vibes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And the interesting part of this is that this is the interesting part of this is that this is on the one hand a coding interaction, but on the other hand the cone is completely aware of what is happening, right? So we see that as I'm interacting with the skill, or as I'm interacting with the sprinkle, that we have these events that are being sent back to the cone, and this is the ability to send events between different tabs and between cone and scoop, but also between user interface elements. And a couple of things that make this interesting is that you can also do things like setting up a cron job. Basically, you can say, let's do this actually. What time is it? So it. So
Okay, who's getting a call?
No worries. So
I thought it might have been calling you, and then that would have been.
Okay.
Right. And as you can see, I mean, it keeps using bash and the different commands that we have. But the really interesting bit too is that since we can run JavaScript inside of it, right? It's very easy to create scripts. It also has a Python, by the way, just because. Why not? But it can run JavaScript and it can run Python, and we have a way to say if you create a file called .jsh, it is in the file system, but it ends up as being a runnable command. So this way, both skills as well as you yourself inside the chat can just easily extend effectively the commands in the system.
Yep.
So that all you need to do is to say, well, I want to automate this, and then once it's figured out how to do it, it can write you the command that is equivalent, and that's very nice because it makes the skills somewhat portable between Slick and other systems, right? Because if you assume, whatever quant task here, for example, well, there needs to be a quant task implementation, but then you can just have the same skill someplace else.
Right. So Slick actually comes with the demo skill, and one of the so we've been talking about the secret sauce, which is this reverse engineering of web APIs. We've been seeing dips, which we used to call inline sprinkles.
Oh, you gotta
I apologize for the lack of consistency in the ice cream metaphors here. We've seen skills. One of the really fun things about Slick is that it has I don't even know how to put it. It has remote control. It has it has remote control. It has the ability to connect multiple browser instances together, and we can just start this demo, and this demo is actually self-driving. So yeah, so trays are remote Slick runtimes, and we have a couple of runtimes already connected. One of the things that it's doing there is when you connect, you get a unique URL, and this unique URL is basically your key to joining a session, and this is something that you should not share with anybody else, because that somebody is then essentially being able to see your entire thread, and is able to talk to Slick as if it was you, right? So that's why.
So is it going to show that on the screen?
Well, so
not that anyone's going to join or anything. I'm just curious.
Another way of saying it is we built a built-in way to rickroll people.
Yeah.
Very nice. Hey, real quick, Stefan's curious. You've been in the same cone. Can you run multiple cones and interact and share stuff?
Yeah, no, you can't do that. And I've been thinking about, to be honest, I've been thinking about having something like archived sessions that you could restore, but at the moment you talk to one scoop, and sorry, you talk to one cone.
Yep.
And you have multiple scoops that are happening in the background, and you can see this timer scoop is doing a really good job. We can actually look into this, and you can see what it's saying. It's saying, yep, I'm checking the time. Not yet. Funny.
Similar questions, though, right? Because I mean, at least you get past me, so you can ask the cone to create a scoop, and that's an initial message that the scoop gets, right? And it then does something for you, and it does come back to the cone, but it's correct.
Yeah. So one thing I quickly want to show, speaking of trays, okay, this is funny. We've been working on an iOS app for Slick, and you can see it here in the iOS simulator, which is basically the same. It's the same thread that we have on the left, we now have on the right, and it's coming with sprinkles. Let's see.
Is this like Claude Dispatch, or basically?
It's a bit like Claude Dispatch, but the interesting part of this is that it's mostly peer-to-peer, actually. So we have one little server that is that helps the different floats, which are the different little instances, find each other and connect on a tray. But the rest of this is that we have peer-to-peer communication as WebRTC, right? So the agent is running in this browser, and this browser is essentially the server, as odd as it sounds. And this browser, or this iOS app, is now the client. And let's open a new tab. No, I can't open that. Let's open a blank tab. want to squeeze in another demo. Oh yeah, maybe let's see if
it's nice that it's keeping you on tack or on task, really.
Yeah.
Certainly better than I'm doing.
You can automate a presenter.
Exactly.
The host, you need a host.
Yep.
Host skill.
Yep, exactly. The host, load the host skill.
Yeah.
Okay.
There
So
we
here we go, and it predictably picked the favorite favorite YouTube video, and having this on the phone,
without even having audio, this is now stuck in my head.
Yes. So, well, and Slick has been suggesting that we should take a look at the knowledge base. Let's see if it's.
So, hey, one quick question as you're going through this. So
working.
Mine doesn't look like that. Like, I don't have any buttons on the side of mine, like that interface. Is that, did I do something wrong?
You probably, sorry, the Rick Astley dancing in the background is really distracting.
It's a little distracting, yes.
If you don't have the buttons on the sidebar, then you probably have a version that is a couple of days out of date. So this is we're moving quite quickly.
That's it. Yep.
In this and I think this Rail redesign, such a timekeeper. This Rail redesign is I think just a week old.
Okay.
So one of the things that I mentioned is that we have GitHub is open. So and look at this. So it's now looking at the pull. It's now looking at the pull request, and it's doing this. So no.
7 weeks ago.
Yeah, it found the first redesign.
It found the first. It found the first redesign. We're doing redesigns every couple of weeks. I quickly want to show you that we actually have Git here, and we also I think have GH.
So I don't need to go to my terminal in the OS. I'm in my browser and I have access to to a full terminal.
To the most, I'm always saying the most interesting commands. So, and if you want to know which commands they are, there's the meta commands, and one of the most fun things here is that there's an agent command which allows to basically use agents programmatically. We have Git and developer tooling. We have actually we're going to look at this a bunch of Rail work. Okay, perfect.
The amazing part about this is you can pretty much do everything that you need to do or want to do here, right, in this browser, right? And that's really the foundation of it, right? And the mount that Lars showed, it can use it to mount local files. That's very convenient. By now we have the mount opened up, so you can, for example, mount projects or sites from DA. So then they're on disk as files. You just say mount me this project from DA. And then you can, and we have Git. So basically you can check out your Git repository. And then you have a coding agent that can both modify the content and the code of your website directly here in the browser, right? That's very convenient.
That is great. Something about being like lazy is the mother of invention or something like that. Like
absolutely. And
you could have written a skill for your lab creation thing to just do it all in Slick.
Yeah.
It would have been very easy.
Yeah, well, I realized that I should have been using Slick to review all of the lab workbooks from Summit. I should have just said, hey.
It would have been as easy as telling it to mount it, right? And then it has it locally, and you can just say, well, go over it. And
yeah, exactly. Tell me who's late.
Well, that was easy. That would be hard.
Okay. So, and I'm just going to prove to you that this is correct. So this is Slack, of course, and I just ask Slick to Slack, so we can see a couple of comments here.
Okay, that is amazing. And so from security perspective, this has your context, you're logged in, it knows you, it's using your credentials, whereas like OpenClaw, you're saying, is something where you give it access to everything and let it run free. This is within the context of a browser session. So you close this browser session and it's gone. There's no persistence.
So if I would close this tab,
yep,
the agent would stop, right? So it's not running in here we go. So it okay, this is funny. So we have re-engineered Slack.
Yes,
Slack.
exactly. It's recreated Slack.
Yes, right. And the interesting thing how this works is, I mentioned this earlier. In Slickstart, I said we have a couple of desktop apps here. One of them is Slack, right? And you see this little bubble here, which is saying there's something slicky happening on Slack. And if you open the Slack tab, you can see Slick sitting right here on the sidebar, and you can click it, and you can see that again the same chat that we have been seeing here and on the iPhone. We are also able to see inside Slack. Yeah, and so the interesting thing, the thing that I wanted to show, and the thing that it failed to show, is that I also have, and now we are getting self-referential, is that I also have this Slick extension running inside the other Chrome tab that is 1 minute to your warning.
There you go.
So I have it running inside the very browser that is running StreamYard, and you can see it's there. It's just that for some reason, you know what?
It's not able to go through the comments.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's do this.
Are you going to make it feel bad that it can't, so that it'll try harder?
No.
Okay, good.
Let's take a screenshot. Oop. And that's the thing that so yeah, you can see this popping up. And if I'm opening system settings and I allow it, then Chrome is going to restart. So I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
So no, we don't do this. Sorry, no screenshots this time. And there's a look at this. I don't know what it.
No,
what
it
did.
But first try to do a recording of the screen, which is denied by default. But then the screenshot, just a screenshot, that's working.
Yes, can do that.
That's what it just did. If you look at the list of Playwright CLI, it did a screenshot.
Yeah, I think it won't let me in. So, okay.
All right.
Slick,
best
thank
laid
you
plans.
Thank you for coaching me on how to give my presentation. You know what? And I'm being a bit suggestive in my line of questioning here.
Thanks for watching. I'm Slicksy. I live in the browser. I live myself, and I'm available at npx Slicksy. Close the tab and I'm dead. But until then, I'm yours. Go build something weird.
Okay,
and here we go.
Now we know it's a Slicksy.
Yeah. So Slick obviously doesn't know how to pronounce Slicky.
How dare you? It is Slick, so no.
So
don't correct the AI.
Yes.
It knows what it is.
Yeah. So I think that's all I have to show at the moment. I think the interesting part here is that it's very interesting. It can do a lot of powerful things. It can help you get rid of a lot of annoying stuff that is happening in your browser. And it is something that we are experimenting with very actively. At the same time, I want to point out that this is an AI agent. It's prone to all of the issues that you can have with AI agents, right? It can suffer from hallucinations. It sometimes misunderstands what you say. It sometimes is not aware of what it actually can do, and you have to tell it, no, Slick. Yes, you can open. Yes, you can open a browser tab. Yes, you can open a file system. And yeah, we think it's extremely fun, extremely interesting, and wanted to share this.
Yeah, right on. Thank you so much, Lars. That was excellent. And it's great that it kept you on task. And I like the host skill is very good. We'll have to use that from now on.
Yes. Yeah. And well, I think we have to get it. We have to get it to actually run inside StreamYard. I think that would be so fun.
Yeah.
To do some auto commenting. And so we will definitely have to try that. And one thing I've seen the YouTube comments come in. I'm very grateful that nobody attempted to do a prompt injection, which is
while you were
which is typically the thing that should happen when you're not just giving an agent access to your browser, but you're also sharing your screen at the same time. And I know that Carl can speak to that, and I also know that Varun, who's been commenting, has some stories to share there. I think the interesting part of this is that we see prompt injections as a real threat. I'm very glad to report that we haven't had any prompt injections yet. So this is I think, part testament to our very small user base, and part of it to the good selection of models. So.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lars. It was great to get an overview of Slicky, and I know I'm going to be playing with it for the rest of the day. So thank you so much. Very cool. So thanks all for attending and joining us. We will be back on the 21st, I believe. And stay tuned for details for that show. Until then, thanks very much.
See you on the 21st. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye bye.